Welcome, everybody. Thanks for being here today. Our topic today is anger management and emotional health. This is something that affects every person. It doesn't matter how old you are, your background, or current situation. Everyone experiences anger at times. Feeling angry is a normal part of our human condition, and it doesn't mean something is wrong with you. What matters most is how we respond when those feelings show up. Today's session is not about blaming or making anyone feel bad about past mistakes. This is a chance to learn new skills that can help make our everyday life just a little bit easier. When our anger gets out of control, it can affect our relationships, our work, our health, and stress levels. But when we learn how to manage emotions in a healthier way, we often feel more in control of our lives. So during this session, we're going to talk about what anger is, why it happens, how to recognize it early, and ways to respond without making the situation worse. Our goal is to leave today with at least one skill that you can use in real everyday life. Before we begin, I want to go over what we will cover during today's session so that everybody knows what to expect. We will start by talking about what right anger is and why it happens. Many people think anger just comes out of nowhere, but there is usually a reason behind it, even if we don't notice that right away. Next, we will talk about how emotions become strong and what happens inside the body when anger starts to build. Understanding this can help you notice warning signs earlier. After that, we'll take a look at common signs that anger is getting stronger because catching it early makes it easier to control. We'll also talk about different ways people react when they feel angry. Some reactions help the situation, some make it worse, and learning the difference can help you make better choices in the moment. Later in the session, we'll practice simple ways to calm down when the emotions get intense. And finally, we'll talk about daily habits that can improve emotional health over time. These small habits can make it easier to stay calm even during really stressful situations. Let's start with a simple question. What does anger feel like to you? All of us experience anger a little differently. For some people, it shows up physically, like a tight chest, maybe a clenched jaw, or just feeling tense overall. For some other people, it shows up in their thoughts, like racing ideas or frustration building. It can also show up in how we react, like raising our voice or just shutting down. Just take a moment now and reflect. There's no right or wrong answers. Again, we're not trying to make anyone feel shame or regret, but we're wanting to know, just identify what anger feels like to you personally. You don't have to write that in the chat. You can just think about it. This is a way to become more aware of how your anger shows up for you personally, which is the first step in learning how to manage it. What my anger feels like has changed over time. As I've gotten older, I've had a little bit of counseling. I've learned how to better identify the anger. I've also learned how to identify some other emotions that help me know that it's coming. I don't always catch it, but I have more skills. So you may look at what has changed in how you feel anger over time. And you may want to write some of these down and go and revisit them. We're going to move on, but some of these questions you may want to contemplate later because it does take time to sit with your feelings and know and ask yourself these questions of what does it feel like for me? What does it feel like in different types of anger, in different situations? But let's talk about what anger actually is. Anger is a normal and natural emotion that every person experiences at some point. It can show up in small ways like feeling irritated when something does not go as planned, or in stronger ways like feeling deeply upset when you believe you've been treated unfairly. The feeling itself is not wrong and it's not bad. In fact, anger can be actually helpful because it can signal that something needs attention or maybe a boundary may have been crossed. Anger often develops in situations where we feel stressed, hurt, disrespected, or overwhelmed. It is also important to understand that anger is not always the first emotion we feel. Many times it is a secondary emotion that comes from something else, like fear or sadness, disappointment or frustration. When these feelings build up over time, anger can rise to the surface because it feels stronger and more immediate. It's built on something else. Our key idea to remember right now is that anger itself is not the problem. The challenge usually comes from how we respond. Reacting without thinking, such as yelling, arguing, or saying things we later regret, can make situations worse and damage our relationships. But learning to manage anger does not mean trying to get rid of it completely. Instead, it means recognizing it when it starts, understanding what the problem is, choosing how to respond in a calm and controlled way that leads to better outcomes. Better responses lead to better outcomes. Anger does not appear without a reason. Most of the time, there are situations when feelings build up before the anger itself shows. So stress is one of the most common causes. When life feels overwhelming, even small problems start to feel much bigger. I know I don't know anybody who has not experienced this. When I am stressed, let's say over a work problem. Let's use that as an example. If I'm stressed about work, then what happens in my home life is I have a shorter fuse. I'm less able to tolerate hiccups that happen later in another area of life. So small problems start to feel bigger and stronger. Worry about bills, health, or family responsibilities, or other ways the mind can feel like it's under pressure. Excuse me, under pressure. But another common cause is to feeling disrespected or ignored, overlooked, or unseen. When people feel like they're not listened to or treated fairly, strong emotions come up really quickly. Family conflict, arguments with friends, or problems with neighbors lead to anger, especially when the same issues happen over and over. So you can see there's no shortage of places for anger to happen. Physical factors also make anger more likely. I think we all know this. Being tired, hungry, or not getting enough sleep can make it harder to stay patient. When the body feels worn down, the mind has less energy to stay calm. The body needs that energy, that sleep, and that rest so that it is not using that energy to help manage your other systems. You can use it to stay patient. Many times anger is actually covering other emotions. So underneath anger, it may be hurt, fear, embarrassment, frustration. There are lots of other emotions that may be underneath the anger. When we learn to notice what is really going on inside, it becomes easier to respond in a healthier way. So we want to understand what happens underneath the anger. It's also helpful to understand the difference between a trigger and a reaction. So a trigger is anything that starts an emotional response. This could be something someone says, it could be a stressful situation, feeling disrespected, or something small like plans changing unexpectedly. Triggers happen to everyone, and most of the time they're outside of your control. A reaction, on the other hand, is what we choose to do after a feeling starts. This is where we have more control, uh, and you may not realize it. While we can't always stop a trigger from happening, we can decide what our reaction to that situation is going to be. For example, two people can experience the same situation but react in completely different ways. One person may be calm, thinks before responding, waits, while another may react quickly with frustration. The difference is not the situation itself, it is the response. So the same exact thing may happen to two different people, and the reaction is different. The same exact situation may happen to you or me, but at different times. And at some point, we may stay calm and react in a calm, responsible way, in a way that heals relationships or builds relationships. And on a different day, we may react quickly, get frustrated, and talk without thinking, damaging relationships. And so it is good for us to know we can be person A and person B, but also to look and notice that other people may be person A or person B, and look at, okay, well, how are they responding to things? What do you not want to respond like? And what do you want to mimic? Understanding this alone helps you have more control. This is really empowering. It reminds us that we're not stuck in our automatic reactions. Even our small choices like pausing, taking a breath, choosing to have different words can change the direction of a situation. Just give yourself a moment. Learning to separate triggers from reaction is an important step toward feeling more in control of your emotions. So think about a little bit about triggers and reactions. What do you see in your day-to-day life that triggers you, that you notice an immediate uh, cause of emotion, leading to anger or frustration, impatience, and look at your reactions. This is another thing that you want to think about and maybe keep notes on, that yes, this is a problem for me. I've had a problem with this. So that you can identify situations that cause you more frustration than others. The body reacts really quickly to anger. Sometimes before we're even aware of what's happening, the reaction is part of the body's natural protection system. And so the brain is trying to keep you safe. That's what the brain does. So it sends signals to prepare you to respond right away. This is often called fight or flight. As this response starts to happen, several physical changes can happen. Your heart may beat faster, your breathing may become quicker or more shallow, your muscles might tighten. You also might notice heat in your face. That's why people get red-faced, clenching your fist, or feeling restless. Some people feel a sudden burst of energy, while others often feel tense or on edge. All of these things are physical responses to anger. These reactions are meant to help you act quickly in a situation that is actually threatening. However, in everyday life, they can make it harder to stay calm and think clearly. When the body is in this state, the brain focuses more on reacting than on problem solving or making thoughtful decisions. This is one reason people sometimes say things they don't mean, or they act in ways they later regret. The body is moving faster than than the part of the brain responsible for careful thinking is happening. So again, we're talking a lot about awareness here. Being aware that, yes, noticing that these things are happening in your body before your brain has a chance to think. So we want to catch these signs early. Learning to recognize the physical signs is really important. They serve as early warning signs, giving you and me a chance to pause, to slow down, to choose a more controlled response before the situation escalates. So what we want is early awareness, more control, so we can make choices. Anger doesn't usually go from zero to extreme in an instant. It's usually building up. And there are often warning signs that we can recognize along the way. These signs can show up in your thoughts, your body, and your behavior. So, what's happening in your thoughts? You might notice that you're becoming irritated more easily than usual. Small things that normally would not bother you may start to feel frustrating. Your thoughts may also change. It could begin thinking negatively, assuming the very worst, or replaying the same thing that upsets you over and over and over. I think that we've all done this, that something happens and we replay it. We think through how we are going to respond, how we should have responded, what we're going to say to somebody in anger and show them, and it repeats in our brain, just rewinding it like a tape. Physically, your body might feel tense. You may clench your jaw or tighten your shoulders or feel restless. I notice, like, when I'm stressed, my shoulders start to hunch up a little bit. I don't relax my jaw. It, I can tell in my body when these things start to happen. My face will sometimes feel tense. That has to do with the jaw, or I'll furrow my brow. Some people notice that their voice gets louder or sharper without meaning to. Others often feel a strong urge to argue, interrupt, or react right away. I think most of us, especially if we're just a little bit older, we recognize the things that start to happen as anger starts to build. If we recognize these signs, it's a really powerful tool. These are the skills that give us a chance to pause before things start to escalate. The earlier you catch the signs, the easier it is to manage the reaction. So waiting until the anger is at its peak makes it harder to stay in control. What we want is earlier and easier. Earlier is always going to make it easier. It gives us that learning to pause and say, yes, this is coming. And the older we get, the better we get at this. But sometimes anger is not just about what's happening. It's also how we think about a situation. Our thoughts can either calm us or make our emotions stronger. There are certain patterns of thinking, often called thinking traps, that can make anger grow faster. One common thinking trap is jumping to conclusions. This happens when we assume we know what someone else is thinking or why they have acted in a certain way without having all the facts. Another example is assuming the worst, where we immediately expect a negative outcome. We don't know what's going to happen, but we make up what's going to happen and we make it the worst possible thing. So jumping to conclusions and assuming the worst are common thinking traps. These are things we want to avoid. Some people use always or never thinking, such as this always happens to me, or they never listen. These types of thoughts can make situations feel more extreme than they really are. Taking things personally is another common trap, where we believe something was meant to hurt us, even if that may not be true. What we want to do is think through a whole situation without forming the thoughts before we've had a chance to evaluate. These thoughts happen quickly. They increase our frustration and make it really hard to stay calm. But the good news is, uh, thoughts can be challenged. Okay, take a moment and ask, is there another way to look at this? This can help reduce the emotional intensity. Becoming aware of thinking patterns is a powerful step towards managing anger more effectively. Is this 100% true? Do I have all the facts? Is there another way to look at this? Is it possible there is some truth to it, but not 100%? Evaluating these questions helps us bring us to a point where we can look and pause and do this more slowly. We just want to think about it and question it. Okay, so take a minute and reflect on what anger looks like for you personally. We've already talked about this. All of us experience anger a little differently. And so it's important for you to understand what are your warning signs. Think about a time when you recently felt upset or frustrated. What do you notice first? Did your body react before your thoughts? Or did your thoughts start racing before you felt anything physically? Maybe your shoulders became tight, or your thinking or your breathing changed. Maybe you started thinking things like, this isn't fair, or I can't deal with this. There are no right or wrong answers to what I'm asking here. The goal is simply to become more aware. If you feel comfortable, write down one or two signs that stand out to you. You can put those in the chat if you want to. If this were a group setting, you could share with others. So if you're in a clubhouse and you want to talk about this, just pause the video and just chat for a few minutes, but take a screenshot of these questions and keep an eye out. Some of this is for you to reflect on throughout the week, throughout the month, as you start to look at your anger. Awareness is the first step. This is how we start to change. When you can recognize your own patterns, you give yourself the opportunity to pause, to choose a different response before the anger takes over. And writing them down really is helpful. So awareness is our first step. Our first step to control, and our first step to choosing and waiting. Because we handle anger in many different ways, of course, not all those ways are helpful. Some reactions feel good in the moment, but they create problems later. For example, yelling and arguing might release some tension in the moment, right in that second, but the damage to relationships often makes things worse. Saying hurtful things during anger can lead to regret once emotions settle down. It's hard to take back those words. In fact, the words can't be taken back. They can be apologized for, and you can change how you react, but words are very hurtful, and it's hard for relationships to recover. It takes work to recover those relationships. And so things that might feel good in reaction in the moment and justified can make things worse later. Slamming doors or throwing objects. This may seem like a way to release that anger, but that's often unsafe and can escalate situations really quickly. On the other side, some people shut down completely. Maybe you're not yelling, slamming doors, or throwing things. Maybe you're avoiding talking. You're ignoring the issue. You're pretending nothing is wrong. While this may prevent conflict in the moment, the anger does not go away. It just builds up. Other responses are, of course, holding it in, which is kind of what we just talked about. That's letting it build up so it may explode later. But some people turn to alcohol or other substances to cope. This can make emotional control quite a bit harder. Recognizing these patterns is important. Once you are aware of unhealthy reactions, you can begin to replace them with healthier ways to respond. So unreleased anger doesn't disappear, it builds. Stuffing it down or using substances to calm yourself is not really a long-term solution. Because when anger is not managed well, it has consequences that go beyond the moment. One of the most noticeable impacts is relationships. When anger shows up like yelling, harsh words, or repeated arguments, it creates distance between people. Even if that's not the intention, those moments leave lasting effects. Those moments have lasting effect. Over time, it can weaken trust, communication become harder. I don't know that we have anybody that hasn't experienced this. Even children have the results of what anger or lashing out, the results of what happens, whether somebody has yelled at them or they've yelled at other people. We all have conflict. And so we want to make sure we build trust and build communication in the relationships that matter to us. Anger also affects our responsibilities at work and at home. It leads to conflict with coworkers, supervisors, neighbors. It can make it harder to focus, solve problems, and make clear decisions. I know when I'm angry, it's harder to focus. I get really wrapped up in the situation, and it makes it hard to work. It makes it hard to um, really solve problems in a way that's effective and building of relationships. Some situations can really have serious consequences. You could lose your job if you react in a certain way, financial setbacks, legal trouble. There are just lots of other things besides our relationships with family, friends, and coworkers that can have that has a negative effect from anger. Also, important effects on physical and emotional health. When anger happens, the body typically stays more stressed. This can lead to headaches, affects our sleeping, causes fatigue, builds tension. Emotionally, uh, people may feel guilty or regret reacting in a way that they wish they could go back and change. Regret is one of those states that, um, boy, it really gets in our brain and affects us and causes us to have a lot of negative reactions in our bodies, in our emotions, and how we cope with other emotional health. So, this is not about fear and shame because we often feel those things, but this is about understanding the impact and learning how we respond differently. We want to highlight why learning to manage anger is so valuable. By gaining control over reactions, you can help protect your health. You can strengthen your relationships, make better decisions, and build a more stable future. So let's stop for a minute. Let's think about how anger affects situations. Think about a time when anger overtook you and what that looked like. What problems did it cause? Did it make the situation better or did it make the situation worse? And what happened after reacting quickly? After you give in to the anger, what happened? You might also want to consider some patterns that you have. Um, here are some examples. Were there hurt feelings, bigger arguments? Did it build into something greater than it originally was? Uh, I know in some of my relationships, I'm married, and so you can take one little thing and have a disagreement, and all of a sudden it's turned into something a lot bigger than what the original argument started with. It's not good. There's a lot of regret afterwards. Sorry that you ever started anything like that, wishing that you could go back and pause for a minute. So look at your patterns. You might want to consider, what do you notice in others? Sometimes it's easier to see how anger affects situations when you can observe it from the outside. Arguments that start small and grow quickly, when emotions take over, these are easy things to look back at and evaluate. This activity is not about blame, it's not about shame, it's about recognizing how reactions shape our outcomes. If you can reflect quietly, that's great. If you want to share with the group, feel free to do that. Um, but what we want to do is make this personal but not private. This is not a complaining session where we air our grievances. This is recognizing the patterns we want to change personally. This whole process that we're talking about is not really about why we deserve to be angry. It's about learning to process and evaluate our anger so that we build good relationships and take care of ourselves. This is about some self-care for our own personal health. When we understand, it helps us to learn new ways to respond so that we can make a real difference. So we're not talking about ignoring the anger. We're not talking about pretending it doesn't happen. We want to recognize the feeling and we want to choose how to act instead of reacting automatically. One of the most helpful tools you can have is pausing. The power of the pause. Even a brief pause can give your brain a little bit of time to catch up with your emotions and help you avoid reacting in a way you might regret. So just taking a pause, a breath, let your brain catch up. You want time to choose. This is about your power of choice. So take a step back. This can be either physically or mentally. You're creating a space between you and the situation. You want to step away if possible and take a break before you respond. This might be like going for a walk. It may be going just to another room. You might step outside a room or outside a building, outside your house, or simply just mentally pausing and deciding to wait before responding. It's thinking about what you're going to say before you say it. This short break allows your body to settle just a little bit and gives you a better chance to think clearly. Another skill is using calm and respectful communication. Simple words. Instead of blaming, raising your voice, try to focus on clear and simple language. For example, how you feel rather than attacking the other person can help keep a conversation productive. You want to avoid the blaming or attacking. Things where this makes me feel such and such. Right now, I feel whatever. Right now, I feel hurt. Right now, I feel confused. Also, listening. Listening is just as important as using your words, that you have an exchange with the other person. When people feel heard, they're often willing to work through an issue. Uh, you can also remind yourself that it's not every situation that needs an immediate response. Giving yourself time can lead to better decisions. The key is that you always have a choice in how you respond. Even when your emotions are really strong, small, thoughtful actions can lead to calmer outcomes and stronger relationships. I'm going to say that again. Small, thoughtful actions can lead to calmer outcomes and stronger reactions. I'm sorry, stronger relationships. We don't want stronger reactions. Anger is such a strong emotion. It often builds up energy in the body. So it's building this energy. So if this energy is not released in a healthy way, it can come out in ways that really cause problems. This is why it's important to have safe and helpful ways to release your anger. You want to process your anger. You don't want to stuff it down. Physical movement is one of the best ways to do this. Walking, running. Uh, we've put some of the lower impact items here, but this could be running, stretching, doing simple exercises. This can help reduce your tension and clear your mind. You don't need a full workout. A full workout is great if you can get that in, but just moving your body makes a big difference. And that's why a stretching. If you're at the office or you're at work, you're behind a cash register, you're doing whatever you do. Maybe you have a desk, maybe you're out on the floor in retail. Just stretching, doing a little light movement will help you reduce tension, clear your mind, and lower your stress. Another option is cleaning. Resetting your mind to clean or organize. It takes your mind off of the immediate anger and allows you to repurpose it. Writing down your thoughts is a really useful tool. This allows you to express what you're feeling without saying something you might regret. When I've been really angry or really had strong emotion, I'm not a big writer. I don't journal a lot, but I do recommend journaling. But just to write bullet points of all the things I'm feeling, it's been critical. It's helped me realize some things that I didn't know in the moment. Helped me to get to some underlying emotions that I wasn't aware of. So listening to music or taking time alone can also help you calm your mind and give you space. It helps push that reset button. And I'm going to recommend music that is not really have, I'm going to suggest calming music. more soothing music, not angry music. I think we all know what that looks like in your different music preferences. But taking time alone, just a moment, these activities can help lower your emotional intensity so you can return to the situation with a clearer mindset. Again, the goal is not to ignore anger, but to release it in a way that's safe. Shifting your focus, um, finding ways to release the emotion that's safe and helps you think more clearly. I have a friend that went through almost pretty much a lifetime of a lot of strong emotions based on a lot of abuse in her childhood. And she would tell me that one of the places she had to stay one time when she was not really well, that, the motto was, feel your feelings and stay safe. And that's feel your feelings in a safe way. Find a way that works for you. When anger feels intense, it can feel like everything is happening really fast and there's no time to think. In those moments, have a simple and practical strategy that can make a big difference. These tools are meant to help you slow things down. The tools are meant to help you slow things down so that you can gain control of your reaction. That's what we're trying to slow the clock, slow your roll just a little bit so that you have control. One of the most effective techniques is slow and deep breathing. You'll find it interesting. We talk about breathing and breath in a lot of our wellness videos and teaching. We actually have a class also about breathing. And so when that rolls back around, we'd love for you to hop in on that. But it's just such an important tool, uh, an easy, free tool to help us calm. Taking a deep breath in and then slowly breathing out helps calm the body. It signals the brain that it is safe to relax. You can actually lower your heart rate. You reduce your physical tension. Even a few short breaths can begin to shift how you feel. You should try this. Just a few calming breaths. Calm your body. It lowers your heart rate, reduces that tension. Another way to do this is to pause your mind. This is simple, but really effective. It gives your mind something to focus on while your emotions begin to settle. This is counting slowly. Focus on something steady, giving your mind a break. Some of this may be as you look around the room that you're in, you can pause and identify things like, oh, I see the lamp with the white shade and the wood base, or putting your hands on whatever counter or surface there is. Like at my desk, I feel the grain in the wood, and my hands can feel that, and I can focus on it. And what it does is it gives my mind a break. Um, if I'm in the kitchen, I can put them on the counter where the counter is stone and it's cold, and feeling that and noticing uh, what that is, listening to the sounds around you, especially if you can escape an area that's where the emotions are so high that people are yelling or talking harshly. And these small pauses can prevent those quick reactions that could make the situation worse. Counting backwards, all of these things slow the reaction. You're just trying to help your mind reset. You're pushing the reset button that helps it reboot into a calmer state. The other way you can relax your body is just by little stretches, relaxing your shoulders, noticing that your shoulders are up in your ears. Even as I say that, if you raise your shoulders towards your ears, when you relax those and pull your shoulders back a little bit, you can feel that you kind of calm some. If you'll try that, you know, hunch your shoulders up or over, but now pull your shoulders down and back, and you see how that helps you relax a little bit. Purposefully unclenching your jaw and your hands. Like I said, take your hands and put them on a flat surface, open, and slow your breathing. If you can sit or stand still for a moment, a lot of times if I've been sitting for a while, standing really does help refocus. But all of these techniques are help you create space to respond more calmly and effectively. Their intention is to calm your mind and your body so that you can ground yourself in the moment. Okay, so let's practice a little bit. We want to practice our breathing. You know, Breathing is something we should all practice. You may laugh at that because we all breathe on a regular basis. We have to stay alive. But purposeful breathing does take practice. Um, we want you to be able to use it anytime, anywhere. And so you want to have practiced it throughout the day. I practice my breathing 3 or 4 times a day. So you can start by sitting comfortably, put your feet on the floor uncrossed, and you take a slow breath in through your nose. Then slowly breathe out through your mouth. And let's do that 3 times together. Breathe in and out. And in and out. And in and out. Now, as you breathe, try to relax your shoulders. Release any tension that you might be holding in your body. And now just slowly count to 5 in your head. Slow, steady pace, no rush. The goal is simply to slow everything down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You notice how your body feels more relaxed. Compare how you feel right now to a few moments ago. Do you notice how even this small step matters? These little simple things, they really matter. Small actions bring big calm. You may think these things are not much, but if you've practiced this, if you did this with us, you noticed how you relaxed. When you're upset, take some of these steps, take all of them. But if you can just remember one of them, put that into practice. Managing your anger is easier when your overall emotional health is strong. So it starts with daily habits. How you feel equals how you take care of yourself. Your daily habit affects your mood. Your routines help create your balance. So when things are balanced, it's easier to manage your stress, handle what's coming, respond to challenges in a calm way. The emotions feel easier to handle when you're more balanced in your habits. We talk about rest in a lot of our videos and our teachings. So sleep matters so much. It matters so much more than you think. And being tired equals being less patient. Being tired equals getting to anger quicker. Small problems seem a lot bigger the more tired you are. And it's harder to stay calm. What sleep does is helps your brain reset. It's repairing things when you sleep. It repairs your brain. It improves your thinking. It supports your emotional control. It repairs how the body is feeling. We must have the sleep for our bodies to repair all the different ways. So quality sleep helps your brain reset so you can think more clearly and stay in control. Food affects your emotion. Skipping meals, not great, low energy. And we're not talking about skipping extra meals. I don't know that you should eat all day. Everybody has a different system and a different body, but you know, skipping your main meals equals low energy usually. You do need fuel. You just want it to be steady. We do a lot of different classes about eating whole foods, not eating junk, how you should eat, but low energy is going to lead to more irritability, easier to feel frustrated. So keeping your energy steady throughout the day really does help support stable mood, stable blood sugar a lot of times, depending on, you don't want to eat a bunch of sugar, um, but you want to balance your energy. So yeah, we know you're busy, but make sure you are eating. You're fueling your body so that it can help you. We want the body to help us. We want to stay active. Even simple things like walking or stretching can help release built up stress. And so you want to do these things before you're angry. Yes, go do this in the middle of something stressful, but movement gives your body a healthy outlet to improve your mood over time. So take short breaks during the day. This is important. Life is overwhelming. It can be overwhelming, but especially when you're juggling multiple responsibilities, take a few minutes to pause and reset. This helps your emotional health from building up in ways that are harmful. So this is not just about what happens in the moment of anger, but what happens on a daily basis, your daily habits to help you. Talking to people, talking to someone who's safe, trustworthy can make a big difference. Being able to share what you're thinking and how you're feeling can help you feel supported and less alone. To get input, uh, to have somebody just hear you, to be heard. Spending time outside, even briefly, can lift your mood and clear your mind. We really recommend getting out into fresh air, getting some sunshine, not getting burnt, but getting just a little bit of sun on your skin can be helpful. We don't want you to get sunburned. That's not good for you. But just getting outside, this is a really boost to your mood. It's just, there's scientific evidence to it. You can tell it when you go out and just breathe in the air. But all these small actions will add up to a strong foundation for better emotional health that will help you in the moment, like we talked about earlier in this program. So think about what we've talked about. Anything that really stood out to you, we've given you several tools, um, but the most important step is choosing one that feels realistic, one thing that you could try. We're not talking about really incorporating multiple things at a time. What is one thing you could try when you feel angry or you feel the anger coming? Maybe it's something simple like just pausing. Just think, okay, I'm going to pause. Take a breath. Take a few breaths, few deep breaths. Can you step away? That's not always possible, but a few small steps can lead to meaningful uh, resets. This gives you just a moment, a chance. We just want to give our brain a chance to rethink. So you want to think about things, small habits, like on a daily basis. Some of these are things that happen in the moment, and some of these are things you could incorporate this week to create new habits to get more rest. Can you take short breaks? Can you talk to someone? Someone trustworthy, someone safe? Is there maybe a support group you could join in your community? Those are great ways to get community and be around other people who are also struggling and encourage each other. Learning to remember, sorry, remember, learning to manage your emotions is a process. Uh, Everything takes time and practice and patience with yourself. Progress is not perfection. We continue to say that in each and every one of our classes. We're not looking for perfection. We're just looking for steps towards the right direction to be helpful. Um, this is just, we're all practicing. We're practicing all of the different things. And this is just about practicing not letting anger overtake and being in control of how we respond. But thank you for being here. It's, your time is valuable and your effort to learn and grow matters. And so, good job. Well done. We appreciate your being here and walking this journey with you. And we hope that you'll keep coming to the classes and looking at the different things and taking just small steps, incorporating one step at a time. Thanks and have a great day.